we've taken a turn in the weather. It's been really cold, wet, hail, thunder, lightning, high winds, rain, the works. This does nothing for my creativity. It's not been good. So I've been trying to have a bit of a tidy up and a declutter and making the studio a bit nicer. I've put some of my plants back in the window now that I'm using the room a bit more, and I had a big packaging declutter. I really needed to get on top of it. I'd let it go and I was just like throwing things into the recess where all the packaging lives and not keeping an eye on it. I didn't really know what was there anymore, so I made a little video the other day and basically went through the whole lot, and I've got loads of really interesting little boxes, lots of packaging, lots of paper, lots of bubble wrap, all sorts of things, and now I know what's there. I probably have more than I need. My parents collect all their incoming packaging for me, and then when I go down there every few months I sort through and decide what I think might be useful, the best stuff to hang on to. But it accumulates because I'm not making huge numbers of sales, and I have much more coming in than I have going out. But I have a good selection now. I know where everything is, I know what I have, and I just need to keep making the sales, and we just need to make improvements. So decluttering really helps. I find if things get too cluttered and too messy and too disorganised, it does affect my creativity. So now I've got that really horrible section of the studio sorted, at least I can see what's there. It's still a bit busy in there. Vinted seems to have taken over the last of my free floor space, but have a little watch, see what you think. This is my update for the week. Right, I'm not quite sure how much of a difference I made there. I've restacked stuff, got rid of some of the bags, so things stack properly now, which is better. and I know what's there now. The problem is that because it's all boxes stacked up on top of each other, it's not as accessible. So when I get a sale and I'm thinking about how I'm going to package it, I don't always think about the things that are at the back of the boxes. So I don't have a nice shelf where everything's laid out and it's easy for me to spot, oh, that would be a good thing to use. So I forget about the stuff that's at the back. But the boxes are now more accessible, and I know what's there. So in the back of my mind, hopefully I will now know what I have to use. I've managed to remove some of the boxes that were balanced on top of those rails there. They're now in there and properly repacked. So it feels a bit more organised. But I discovered I had a lot more small boxes and packaging than I thought I had, because it's been stuffed away at the bottom of suitcases, and I need to now not accept any more boxes. The problem is, whenever I go down to my parents', they save for me all the bits that they think will be useful. So the small boxes, the bubble wrap, the scrunched up paper, all that sort of stuff. And it is useful, but because it's there, I find it really hard to say no, because it's like, oh, I can reuse that at some point. That will save me money. And a bit like in 2020, where I kind of developed this what if there isn't any mentality because of what happened with the supermarket. So it's why I have more of a food store than I used to, because you can't trust that things are always going to be available. So it's that prepping mindset that, I mean, who knows, if I suddenly get loads of sales, I've got tons of wrap and stuff to use, but it's probably not going to happen. I don't know. I mean, it's not getting in the way. That recess is a difficult space to use. I could put bookcases in it, but then that means a lot of the floor space is unusable, because what if I want to get to the bookcases? So I've always had that little recess as the place where fabric stores and boxes went, because it's a funny little recess that's not really usable. What I should really have is a nice big curtain across the front of it, so I don't have to look at it. But at least I know what's there now. It's all useful bits and pieces. And if I had a high volume of sales, I would go through that in no time, I should think, because it's all really good, useful, presentable, customer presentable stuff. There's some nice boxes in there, lots of funky paper wrap and things like that. So it's all useful. It's just I don't have the level of sales to justify having it all, but I just can't bear to just throw it all away, because the whole point is that it gets reused and not thrown away. I could start up a packaging recycling repository, which would be great, except how would I make anything out of that if I was giving it out to other people? Anyway, so that's a small amount done. There isn't a lot else I can do in here, to be honest with you. All this stuff is kind of there for a reason. There's a lot of packaging, there's a lot of supplies. I've got sewing machines on shelves which I use. It's just really difficult because it's such a small, difficult space to work with. I want to get rid of this rail of stuff. I put a load of my vinted prices down yesterday just to get rid of stuff, because it's like, ugh. But it's really hard to sell stuff on vinted. People just don't want to pay. And the problem is, because the postage costs are high, even if you list an item for £1, it might cost them an entirety of about £6, because the postage goes on top. So you think you've only made £1, but they've spent £6 or £7 in total. And very often they can go to Primark and get it cheaper. I mean, I don't even know what Primark prices are like anymore. I haven't been shopping in a clothing shop or even browsed in a clothing shop since pre-pandemic, so I don't know how the prices have really changed. I would say Vinted is cheaper than Etsy, it's cheaper than eBay, buying and selling, I would imagine. It's just become a bit of a storage space rather than a workspace. It's a little bit frustrating. Hey ho.